Welcome to the Sureway English live class. This is the practice and learn session on PTE Describe Image, which means that in this class you will learn Describe Image through practice questions. I will give you a series of Describe Image questions, most of them of medium to high difficulty level. After each question, we will have a discussion where I'll tell you the important points, how to form a response, how to structure your response, how to pick out key points from the image, what are the things to pay attention to, what are the things that you should ignore. So just like in a real classroom, the teacher and the student, they work through some questions together, which helps the student understand the concepts and become better at that topic. That's the same approach we will take in today's live session, in this live class. And if you stay with us till the end, I think you will be, at the end of this session, you will be able to handle complex images like this and like this. So these are the kind of questions we will do, and you will learn how to deal with images of this complexity. So make sure that for the next 30 minutes or so, you have no distraction and you can put your full attention into this class, because I'm very sure you will learn a lot if you stay till the end. Please also check the video description. You will find some related study materials afterwards. They will help you a lot as well. Okay, so with that, we are ready to start. Make sure that you have something to record your responses, in maybe your mobile phone, or if you want, you can record in your PC or on your laptop. Either way, that's fine. Just be ready with that, and then we can start with the first question. As you know, in Describe Image, you will get some 30 to 40 seconds in the beginning to look at the image and prepare your response, and then you will have another 30 to 40 seconds to record your response. So that's the same amount of time that I will give you, around 40 seconds to prepare, and then 40 seconds to record and deliver your response. You will be recording in your mobile phone, and at the end of that time, I will walk you through the different steps and show you how to form a good response. Okay, let's begin with the first question. Let's have a look at the response. So this is what a high scoring response would look like. The diagram describes the various steps in an influence model. The first step is to identify the alliances, those who can help. This is followed by setting up priorities. Next steps are empathizing, identifying, and analyzing. The final step is implementation, in which the exchange is done. In conclusion, influence model results in fruitful transactions. Now, let's look at the different parts of the response. The very first thing that you do in Describe Image is you give an overview. You tell what the type of that image is and what it is about. In this case, it's a diagram which has the steps of a model which they call the influence model. You know these are steps because they're numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So these are the parts which you should pay attention to. And whenever you have a diagram like this or a process diagram like this in which you have different steps, then you should always start with the first step. And then you say the first step is to identify the alliances, those who can help. Now you should try not to read as it is. Don't just say the first step is alliances, everyone can help. Paraphrase, put it in your own words, try to modify that. After that, we say this is followed by setting up priorities, and next steps are empathizing, identifying, and analyzing. Try not to say the second step is this, the third step is this. Okay? Use language which shows that you know what the purpose is. So use words like this is followed by, next steps, the final step. Another thing that we did was that we combined empathize, identify, and analyze in one sentence. We did that because if you try to read out everything in a separate every step in a separate sentence, we'll most likely run out of time. So you should always do that. Try to club some points together so that it saves time. And then in the end we said the final step is implementation, in which the exchange is done. And the last is your conclusion. So in conclusion, influence model results in fruitful transactions. So by looking at the different steps, we get an idea that this is about making an exchange. So making an exchange or doing a transaction. We just change the words. We found something similar in meaning and we use that. Always try to have a conclusion. It's useful because one, it shows that you understand what's the deeper meaning in the image, and you get good points if you are able to show that. At other times when you run out of things to say, again it's very useful. You can then just say a generic statement like, in conclusion, the influence model, in conclusion, the diagram gives very useful information about an influence model. That's another thing. When you go into the exam, try to have some of these template sentences, structures in your mind. This is what we teach, also recommend in our full course to our students. So you also, make sure that you're ready with these alternate statements if you run out of things to say. Please remember, you can always pause this video that you're watching if you want to review the response. Okay, you can pause it and compare it with what you have recorded. You can also come back to it later on. Okay, shall we go to the next question then? Here we go. Let's look at the response. The diagram highlights the importance of wetlands and shows how they work. First and foremost, they help in releasing the stream energy and filtering the sediments in the stream. This leads to cleaner water that ends up in the streams. Groundwater is also stored and gradually released to the streams. Furthermore, the wetlands serve as an important wildlife habitat. In conclusion, the wetlands play a critical role in the ecosystem. Now, the first time that you look at this image, it strikes as something very complex. And a lot of test takers, when they look at an image like this, they tend to panic. The, where to start from, which thing to say first, what to say next, and so on. As a rule of thumb, you can start from one end of the diagram and then move to another end. Also try to understand what it's about, because then you will know logically where you should start from. Pay attention to the title and the heading of the diagram, the image. In this case, it is how wetlands work, and they provide everything. So they provide everything tells us that the diagram wants to show that how important the wetlands are, and then it tells that how they do different things. That gave us our first sentence, the introduction, that the diagram highlights the importance of wetlands and shows how they work. See, if you're not able to paraphrase for whatever reason, then do not just get stuck there. Don't just stop there. Try to read whatever is in front of you. Then you can just say that the diagram shows how wetlands work and how they provide everything. Okay? Don't make it very complicated. Otherwise, you will run out of time. There will be a lot of pauses in your responses. So, don't complicate it. And then again, these are a number of different things that are happening. As you can see, one arrow leading to another. So we say first and foremost, they help in releasing the stream energy. Now it was dissipates stream energy. Instead, we used a synonyms. We said release the stream energy and filtering the sediments in the stream. Then you can see, that cleaner water is going into the stream. So we said this leads to cleaner water that ends up in the streams. And then the other thing, what the arrows show is that this groundwater, it goes, below the surface and gets stored in saturated peat, and then slowly it is released to the streams. See, I'm just following the arrows there. So then that gave me another point that groundwater is also stored and gradually released to the streams. So instead of saying slow release, I said gradually released. And then I find this point important, that they provide critical wildlife habitat. So that's why I said, furthermore, the wetlands serve as an important wildlife habitat. And then my conclusion statement, that in conclusion, the wetlands play a critical role in the ecosystem. So this is about the importance of the wetlands. So I use the word critical there. Okay. As always, first, try to understand what the image is by looking at the title, etc. Then you can start, from one end to another. Follow the arrows, follow the different steps, the labels, and that should give you your response. If you still find that difficult, then you can just read it. It is better to give a simple response, but speak confidently, than, try to give a very complex response filled with pauses and hesitations. So don't compromise your speaking at any cost. Okay, the response, it's fine, if it is 70% accurate, but your speaking, that should be at 100%. Are you ready? Let's go to the next question. Before that, in the comments, please tell us which topic you think we should take in our next class. So we will be having these live classes every week now, regularly on YouTube. So tell us which topics would you like us to discuss in these next classes. We will make a video on that and we will discuss those in the next upcoming classes? Please let us know in the comments. Okay, the next question here. Here's the response. The pie chart illustrates the various causes of traumatic brain injury. The study focuses on the United States from 2002 to 2006. The most significant causes of brain injuries is falls that accounts for 35% of all injuries. This is followed by traffic accident and collisions at a similar 17 and 16.5%. Assault and unknown causes make up the other reasons. In conclusion, critical brain injuries can be caused by a number of reasons. Now, this is a common type of questions which you will find in your describe image in the exam, and that is a pie chart. This is a fancy pie chart. So if you see something like this, don't be surprised. PTE, they keep updating, revising their questions, they keep making them better, and they keep coming up with, innovative images. So these kind of images have also been seen in the recent exams. So, but underneath, it's just a pie chart, as you can see. And right away, what you have to do, you have to see what the title is, what it tells. So it tells us that it is about the causes of traumatic brain injury, and then under that it's telling us that the data is from United States for these years. So that gave us our first couple of sentences. You could have also combined these two into one sentence, that the pie chart illustrates the various causes of traumatic brain injury in United States from 2002 to 2006. So feel free, as long as you are putting in the information and you are putting it the right way, feel free. In a pie chart or in any kind of a graph, in any other kind of a graph, you always, you should start with the most significant point. So in this case, you should start with the biggest pie, and that is 35%, which is false. So that was our first sentence. And after that, you go with the next couple of highest ones. So you usually say this is followed by. So don't say that, the other is accident, traffic accident and collisions. Use better language. So use words like this is followed by traffic accidents and collisions at a similar 17 and 16.5%. Now these were, the figures, they are similar, 17 and 16.5. So we clubbed them together. And then as we were running out of time, we combined the assault and unknown also into one sentence. And finally, in the end, you just say, in conclusion, critical brain injuries can be caused by a number of reasons. Okay, so that's your response. The key points here, what we learned is focus on the biggest, then go with, the next couple of high points, club the similar points together, right? And then just say your conclusion. So there's always a high chance that you will get a pie chart and some graphs in your exam. So prepare well for these types of questions. The next question, here we are. The response. So the response is, the graph compares the population of 6 countries over the last 5 centuries. France was the most populated country in 1500 with about 15 million people, followed by Germany at around 12 million. Others such as United Kingdom, Netherlands, Belgium and Sweden had much lesser, all under 5 million. The populations stayed more or less constant till 1700. From then on, there was sharp increase in the population of Germany, France and UK. Germany became the most populated country. In conclusion, it can be said this trend will continue in the future. Now, when you look at a graph like this, with 6 different lines, different colors, a lot of numbers, it's natural, some people naturally they become confused what to say, what's important, what's not important. My advice is, again, keep it simple. Step by step, try to understand what's written in front of you. And the first step is always to read the title. In this case, it is population by country in the last 5 centuries. So that should give you your introduction sentence. And you can see that, on the x-axis or horizontal, there are these centuries, 1500, 1600, so on. And on your y-axis or on the vertical, you have the population numbers in millions. Now, there's no need to read out these x-axis and y-axis individually. You might hear, from a lot of people and the so-called tips and tricks that you should say the x-axis is 1500 to 2000 and the y is 10 million to 80 million. You can say that if you are not able to find anything better. But if you want a high score and you don't want to take any risks, then don't, speak sentences like these, because they tell that you don't really know what's important and how to handle what's written in front of you. Okay? Of course, if you are getting stuck, you can't find what to say, then feel free to read it, whatever is written in front of you. Now, in the graphs, you should pay attention to where they are starting from, how long they are following a similar pattern, and then when there's a sudden increase or a sudden decrease. That's what you should pay attention to. So when we start from the beginning, we can see that France, it has, the point is highest. And another important point, don't spend your precious seconds trying to find the exact number. That, maybe is this 16 million, is this 14 million, is this 15 million. Just approximate and then say about 15 million. Okay, because it's almost in the middle, right? So you can just say that France was the most populated country in 1500 with about 15 million people, followed by Germany at around 12 million. So again, we just made a guess for Germany that yeah, maybe it's 12 million. It's fine because I said around 12 million, which tells that I'm making an approximation. After that, you say others such as United Kingdom, Netherlands, Belgium had much lesser, all under 5 million. So I took rest of the countries and I just clubbed them together in one sentence. Now you can see that till around 1700 they're more or less the similar levels, slight increases but similar levels, and then the sharp increase happens 1700, 1800 onwards. That's when a sharp increase happens. So we just say that the population stayed more or less constant till 1700. From then on there was sharp increase in the population of Germany, France and UK. And the key point is Germany, it ends up becoming the most populated country. So that was an important point. So I said Germany became the most populated country. Now in the graphs, you can, in the conclusion, the graphs, they basically show you a trend, that how something started and how it's continuing. So looking at these numbers, for the bottom countries they have been more or less constant, and Germany is way up high. So we can safely say that in conclusion it can be said this trend will continue in the future. Okay. Otherwise, if you're not able to make a conclusion like that, you can just say in conclusion the graph tells us a lot about how the population in these countries has changed in the last 5 centuries. So there are a number of ways you can do it. Just follow the structure, keep it simple, what comes to your mind, and speak it properly, speak it with full confidence. As I said earlier, feel free to pause the video, go back and listen to my explanation again, or just pause and look at the response and compare to what you came up with. Okay, that's a good thing about studying online, that you can pause and rewind your teacher. All right. Okay, let's go to the next question. The response: the diagram illustrates the region of space which can be considered habitable. Planets too close to Sun are too hot, while those away are too cold. Planets have to be in just the right zone for habitation to take place. In the just right zone, the planet should be of the same size or at most twice the size of Earth. In conclusion, in habitation zone, planets are expected to be similar to Earth in size. Now this is somewhat of a simpler image. Yes, I would call it simple because there are only a few things written, which you have to pay attention to. The first thing is, as you can see, this looks like planets and a space diagram, and the title is Habitable Zone. Now it means where life can exist. So the zone or the area in space where life can exist. So we can say the introduction, The diagram illustrates the region of space which can be considered habitable. So in the diagram it is marked as just right, and on its left, it's too hot for life, and on right it's too cold for life. So that gives us our next sentence. Planets too close to sun are too hot, while those away are too cold. Planets have to be in the just right zone for habitation to take place or for life to exist. So that's one way of saying it. If you're not able to come up with something like that, you can just say that on one side of the right zone it's too hot, and on the other side it is too cold for life to exist or for a habitat to exist. And another important point here is that the diagram is telling us what the size of the planet in just right zone is. So it says that should be of the same size or at most twice the size of Earth. So 1 to 2x Earth. That should be the planet size. In conclusion, and that also gives us our conclusion. In conclusion, in habitation zone, planets are expected to be similar to Earth in size. Okay? Or you can say a conclusion like this. In conclusion, a planet has to be at just the right distance for life to exist. Okay, just the right distance from sun for life to exist. And in the worst case, your conclusion can be, in conclusion, the diagram tells us a lot about habitable zone in space. Okay, now sometimes you will find diagrams like these from science, or from biology, or from the different areas. But that doesn't mean that you need to have that specialized knowledge. You need to learn about astronomy, or you need to know about biology. As long as you just pay attention, use some common sense, what's written in front of you, I'm very sure you can construct a good response. Okay, time for the next question. Let's check the response. So now, this looks like something very complex and different. So many numbers here, and it's neither a graph, you don't really know what it is. So what you do, then it's just an image, it's an informational image, right? And what you do is, again, first of all, do not panic. And then you read, what are the main titles, what are the main different parts. So you see on the first it says where the money comes from, on the right it says where the money goes. So, and then on one side it is total revenue, and then on the other side it's total spending. So from total revenue, there's an arrow going into spending. So this looks like money coming in, money going in, and the different titles like taxes, defense, tells that this is the revenue and spending for a country. So it's probably it's the budget, that this much money comes in, this is what they spend, and then they have in the red a budget deficit. So even if you understand half of it, you can still give a good response. And there are so many points, you don't have to pick all the points. First of all, cover the main points, that the image illustrates the financial inflow and outflow of a country. And then the main point is the total revenue stood at $2.4 trillion, while the total expenditure was $3.6 trillion, leading to a shortfall of $1.2 trillion. That's the most important point here. And you said that. Now, instead of just saying deficit is 1.2 trillion, I said a shortfall. That they're making a loss, or they on their accounts they have this much less amount. And then after that, we further expand and we tell what that revenue is made of. There are these different sort of streams coming into total revenue. So it tells that this 2.4 trillion is made up of all of these, and then the blue lines going out of the spending tells that the 3.6 trillion goes out into all of that. So no need to read each one of those, just look at the biggest ones. So I said the money comes in largely through individual income taxes that accounted for $1.1 trillion. See, I'm using the word specific. In this case I said accounted for, because we are talking about money, etc. Okay, I could have just said that largely through individual income taxes, which is $1.1 trillion. That's also fine, but I had an opportunity to show that I know the vocabulary specific to the situation, so I used that. Okay, and $1.1 trillion followed by Social Security and payroll taxes at $939 billion. And then you have the biggest expenditure, it is defense, followed by Social Security at around $695 billion. And I didn't say that, I just clubbed Social Security, Medicare and other discretionary expenses because they are kind of similar numbers. So in conclusion, I can say the simple version that in conclusion, this diagram gives us a good oversight, a good overview of how the government is spending the country's money, and a smart conclusion is, in conclusion, the country is spending much more than it is earning. Alright, now I want you to pay attention to something that I just said. I said that I used the vocabulary specific to the situation. So I said accounted. Okay, and this is PTE academic, right? So it's good to know and use these kind of academic words. How to build your vocabulary? There is an academic word list available. You can find it on Sureway English, when you sign up for a free course, or on the other places as well. You should try to go through, become familiar with those words and use them in sentences. In our course, we provide a vocabulary module, so the students have to go through all of these, and it's important. It really helps. It gives you the right words for the right situation. Okay, so before we go on, please like the video, subscribe to the channel so you get notified of the next live class. Please leave a comment, a question for us. We will answer each and every one. Alright, so that was our class for today. Now you have a good overview of Describe Image. In this short time we covered a lot. We got some good practice, and I told you some very important things, how to approach the question, what to do in different situations, how to identify key points, what to ignore, what to pay attention to, what to do in emergency situations when you can't think of anything else. So now the next step, look into the video description and you will find more materials for your practice. If you're looking for a comprehensive course, you can go to surewayenglish.com. There's a free option, but there's also a premium option. If you want to streamline your preparation and get everything in one place, please check it out. And I hope you find this live class useful. Tell us what you would like us to cover next, and I'll see you very soon in the next live class. All the best for a very good PTE score.